Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes, and welcome back to the YoVideogames podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Andrew.
And once again, thank you to all our generous patrons who kept us going for over 400. I almost said 2. It's been more than that. 400 episodes.
Definitely over 100 episodes. We could say that every time.
Definitely
over 100 episodes. You've been keeping us going over 10 episodes. We've been going forever.
It's all true, technically.
But yeah, if you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideogames podcast. Dude of the week is Andrew G. Thank you, Andrew.
Nice stealth brag there. Andrew congratulating himself. He's like, "Yeah, I'm Andrew." We're like, it's Andrew G. Oh yeah, okay, I'm Andrew. I'm a
patron
G.
since day one.
Right. No, but for the real Andrew G, thank you.
I'm the real Andrew. Although, if you got a nickname, you want to be Andy G, Drew G. I don't know. Actually, how many Andrews like to be called Drew? Am I the only Andrew that I'm like, madam? Drew's like any nickname, fine, but Drew. I was in Vegas.
I'm too old because Drew Carey. Is this going to lead to a Drew Carey joke?
No. I was just in Vegas one time in one of those pool clubs, drunkenly debating with a Drew about the pluses and minuses of having the nickname Drew.
So that seems like a really vitally important topic of discussion.
Yeah, that's actually what the whole episode's about.
This is the real deep philosophical stuff that you get into in Vegas. In a drunken poolside party. The pros and cons of Andrew versus Drew.
It was a bachelor party, so all the exciting stuff I can't talk about. I'm sworn to secrecy, and I keep my promises. So that's the most exciting thing that happened there, Maddie. If you're listening, that's the only thing cool that happened the whole weekend. I promise. No one died. Anyway, we have cool things. Like sometimes we get told we don't have any episodes where it's all positive, but this week we get to actually just focus on positive stuff. Last time was a bit of a Debbie Downer with the grim tidings, but
yeah,
this week we're going to talk about things like Helldivers 2 kicking ass and all the lessons that the industry will not learn from it. But we will
not learn
specifically what the publishers won't learn from it, but things we really love about Helldivers 2.
Despite the fact that it is a first party release, the one of the biggest eyes is on it, you would think it's not like, okay, because here's the thing. Something like Lethal Company comes out and it'll probably get copied, in a few different places, but AAA buttholes are gonna collectively shrug their shoulders and go, "Well, this guy got lucky," and not take really anything away from it, because they're gonna look at it and go, "There's no monetization model here. There's no battle pass, or someone worse, someone will make a copycat of that and go, okay, now how can I FOMO this, to hell and back? How can I make people want to keep coming back and paying money?" And and we have a good reason to be having this dour opinion, because the head of Warner Brother Gaming basically just said as much. Probably the most ill-timed. I don't admire him, but I'm almost impressed at how poorly he read his own room.
The thing is with everything going on, is he just oblivious to the news, or is he a sociopath who doesn't care?
See, here's the thing. To pivot once again into film, a trailer came out and it looked amazing. And I looked it up and it said, "Oh, this is the last in-house production for the studio." And I was like, "Wait, what? Why?" And they're like, "Yeah, like the recent COO over at Universal DreamWorks decided that he's going to offload all of their projects to Sony ImageWorks or other people." And I'm like, "Wait, what? Why?" And yeah, it's going to be better for business in the long run. And I'm like, it's like, okay, so he came from Sony, But even more is he came from Bog Allen or Bose Allen or whatever. He came from a completely unrelated financial sector part of business, and then just came in, got like some head position at a movie studio, and basically said, this will be better in the long run. I'm going to like offload and piecemeal production of our films at others from other studios and other partners around the world. It's better for us, financially. And I'm like, why?
Have you seen that TikTok that's fucking everywhere right now of the guy trying to ask? He's like editing consultants' answers about what they do, and it's just nonsense, and nobody really knows. But they're all talking about solving problems.
Yeah.
Well, speaking as someone who has done consulting, oftentimes there's two types of consultants. There's a consultant that comes in because they are a expert from some other industry, and they don't consult full time. They just like they get brought in to consult on an issue that they are legitimate experts on. And then there's other consultants that are general business, just business experts, and they solve problems. This reminds me of that because it's like that guy came from like the Bose section of Sony, and he's just like, yeah, I know business. I've been in business.
A bit of business, and he's going into into the most artistic part of an artistic medium.
Yeah.
And he's making financial decisions and deciding how films will get made and who gets to make them. And this is probably going all the way back to why am I saying this? Because I don't know this, but I'm going to guess. And I don't even think I'm wrong here. I'm going to go out on my limb. And I don't care. I am willing to be a fool and say, I don't think this guy was a developer.
Probably not.
I don't think the guy who made this statement, the head of WB Games, I don't think his background is in gaming besides the business side of it. I don't think he's actually coded a single line of code in his life, probably.
We were just talking about George Lucas, and this is a perfect example of like creatives typically don't want to deal with the business side.
Right.
And that causes a lot of problems in the industry too. This is actually a much more complex discussion where it's like creatives are as responsible for problems in the industry as the business people. So it's not entirely fair to shit just on executives. Shitting on creative executives, that weird marriage area where like 90% of them don't do creative well and also don't come from a business background. They just like someone knows someone and they're I'm a creative executive. Those people,
so
everybody shits on.
You're talking like a movie producers who were hairdressers and then suddenly
no.
became producers on major films. That happened.
No. A creative executive, when you hear like the blanket, like an executive at Netflix or a creative executive somewhere, they're like the head of development for comedy at Amazon Prime Studios. And you're like, well, where the fuck did that guy come from? Sometimes those guys come from, they were writers in comedy and they had a show and like, or they were like a prominent performer and Amazon will hire them to develop a slate. Sometimes. That's very rare from my experience. Every time I've heard about it, it's like they worked at some other part of Amazon. They were already in the system and they had enough juice. They were high up enough in Amazon that they were like, you know what I want to do? I want to do something creative. I've always wanted to do it. I've never done it in the past. And they have enough juice to get the job as a creative executive as the head of Prime's comedy because they know the right people / they've been there long enough / whatever. And then now you have a guy who is real good at business making decisions over what their comedy slate's going to be like for the next year. And the problem with executives like that also, in my limited experience, is they almost always fail upwards, most of the time actually because they're genuinely nice people. Like we also don't like to, we only ever really hear about the assholes, but a lot of these guys are like, they're genuinely like well-meaning or good people. They make friends with a lot of people. And so they tend to fail upward. Or they're
well, I mean, I don't know them personally, and I can't say much other than what I've heard offhand from developers, but I mean, there are definitely people, the Phil Harrisons and the Don Matrix of the world, They are the kings of failing upward.
Yeah,
but they're in a level that's so much beyond what you're even talking about here, though. That like when these guys fail upwards, they're probably shitty people, and they're failing upwards.
Yeah, because it depends on how they're actually failing. Because when we think of a failure, is our standard of failure the same as what the managers at that publisher are looking for?
Well, there is like there's a part of me that's just kind of like, how do you keep getting hired? Like, like how does this keep happening? What are you doing? And the thing is that like I think the true thing is and when you get these people who are making these statements like WB Games, this person again has never written a line of code. This person's never lived the life of a developer who's probably had to bounce around studios, move job to job, uproot his family multiple times
countries.
Countries within 5 years, multiple times the way they have. They don't know what it, and they only do that because they kind of like have to. It is like do or die. They don't have, money they could feasibly live off the rest of their life. So it's real easy to sit there and make a decision that sounds so incredibly stupid because they have no concept of what goes in. I don't know. To me, just the statement in particular with WB Games was how like we're doubling, we're going hard in to live service. Because I mean, okay, if for anyone who doesn't know, if you're at this point for some reason, WB Games said they are abandoning the one and as he called it. And he sounded the way
the
it's
one
written,
and done
yeah, the
AAA
one and
title.
the one and done AAA,
Yeah.
like he's being so smug about it because one and done is not, it's terrible for business. You release the game, that's it. You get no more money off it. And his statement was like he wanted to create going into live service, free to play, and mobile, because we're here to make worlds that you're gonna live and work and did, and then gaming is the fourth thing and play is the fourth thing listed. Live, work, survive or play, something like that. And it's like
it was like live, work, build, and play.
Build and play, yeah. And it's like, oh, so he's treating his customer base like he's giving them jobs. Your job is to give me money. I'm not trying to sell you anything that's fun. I'm giving you a job and you're going to pay me for it. It's the best exchange of hands in the world. What makes the whole timing of this incredible is because last year we broke a record that hasn't been broken for like well over a decade. And the best-selling game in North America last year was not a Call of Duty title for the first time in like God knows how long. It was Hogwarts Legacy. Granted, that's just North America, but that hasn't happened because COD. Well, it's a kind of a combination of factors because like Modern Warfare 3 was kind of a a shit show.
A dud. It was a dud. Yeah,
but like the thing is, you can't even a crappy COD still sells amazing. And it's still, and Modern Warfare 3 did sell amazing, technically speaking, and Madden still sells amazing, and what have you. And it still beat all that out. So you had this single player game that was just what, what the remaining, and very large, as we found out, fan base just wanted. It's what they wanted. They just wanted a nice big polished wizard simulator.
Yeah,
they got it.
Owner to the extreme,
and they got it, and they made a ton of money off it. And 2 to 3 weeks off the cusp of Rocksteady, their crown jewel developer, spending near a decade on a live service game that has come out and categorically flopped real hard. And his response is, I'm going to double down on this game that took my crown jewel developer and is a complete and utter dud from day one. That's needed. We need to double down on that. Simply because the idea is like, we need to make games that make money continuously forever.
Wow.
And it's like, so he's literally, it's just like a gambler who literally puts all the money on a number and is like, it's going to hit next time. It's going to hit next time. It's going to hit next time.
I don't think that's what it is, though. It's when I was in film school, I listened to this interview with it was a director talking about his friend who had just become a studio head, which is sort of like a mythic job. There's no real way to like work your way up to that. You hit it right, or you're in the right room or whatever. You have to do a bunch of stuff, but then like once you're in the running for that job, that's like there's no one that can tell you really how to get that job. Most of them come from agents. But he was basically talking about, was like, how come we don't make Jaws anymore? How come we don't make, like, we only do temples? And his buddy, who apparently is like a very smart guy, and like actually creatively involved, like knows what he's talking about when he's talking about a good script, basically says like, well, because we're no longer in the business of making millions, we're here to make billions.
Right.
And like the idea being like, if I have to make 10 flops of like tent pole movies that are, you know, $100 million each at this time, that was a lot of money for a movie, to, you know, hit once that makes, you know, billions of dollars. That's what I'm going to do, even though I could make 100 movies for the same amount of money and make a profit on every single one. He's like, I'd rather take 9 losses and 1 huge win than 100 moderate wins.
Right. And I think, well, that's exactly what they're getting at here.
That's what he's getting at. He wants to hit with one. He's like, yeah, it was a huge failure, but I want.
Hogwarts made over $1 billion.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They made billions off this one game last year. And they are saying we are done with that. Like, you know, the span of time is like we had a one and doneer, and it made more money than we ever expected to. We had a live service. It failed harder than we could have ever, like, you know, dreaded it flopping. Double down on the flop. Because if we get it right one time,
it can make billions every year for years.
But here's the fallacy with that. Here's where I argue back against that. And this is why I think he is completely out of touch. And he's not. And this is why I don't think this guy has a game development background. I'm guessing why I don't think he has a game development background. Because if you want a live service game that's going to hit and is going to make money and is going to continue to make money over and over a period of time, right? That requires constant development.
Yeah.
So you need a large and talented development staff, and they need to be constantly churning content out for like 10 years.
Yeah.
So you now no longer have a game that took you 5 years or 6 years, which is it's insane that games take that long now, but you need a AAA developer to spend 4 to 5 years building the game, and then they have to spend the next 10 supporting it constantly. I mean, constant support. You can't lower, you know, you can't decrease your staff. You know, you can't like size down. There's no sizing down on this. Like,
you can't shift it to the B squad.
Right. Yeah. You can't do that. You can kind of do it. You can do a little bit. Like there's some bits of it that you can, you know, like maybe whoever did like, you know, the main map or whatever, there are sections and pieces, but like, even then you still want people who did like the brunt of the grunt work. You're going to want them making brand new maps, whole giant maps. So again, you now have a game that now has a 15-year development cycle. So you need to pay these talent, and I say talented because if you have any hope of making your AAA work, you know, or your live service work, it needs to be of a certain quality. And certain quality, you cannot just hire out someone like Slant 6. I am picking on a dead company, but for a reason. You cannot take a company that's like basically equivalent of Slant 6 and being like, they're cheap. There's not a lot of them. They'll just keep making this product for us, and we'll get like fit. You can't do that. It won't work, because every time they've tried to do a small and up and coming developer making a live service game, it blows up even if it's successful, it blows up in their face, and they can't keep up. Because WB did this. It happened with that exact company within the last year or two, and it was called Multiverses. And they had to take the game offline and staff up because There was no way in any universe they would ever have been able to keep maintenance up on that game and add content. They had to stop what they were doing and staff up. So that's why the statement and the timing is so insane, because he just had $1 billion hit on a one and done game. He just had a fucking massive like money pit sinkhole on Suicide Squad, and he just had another live service game be successful but completely die to the point they had to take it offline because they were completely unprepared for maintaining it. So he, like, if you're the chief executive officer or the head of YoVideogames, and you literally just went all three of these things within 12 to 36 months, how the hell is your response? We need to do more live service free to play mobile.
We gotta
like I'm very confident in saying this might go down in history as the most ill-timed and dumbest statement I've ever heard from someone who gets paid well above any of our pay grades. He gets paid probably more in a year than I'll see in my life, and yet I can confidently say this is one of the most poorly timed and probably foolish statements I've ever heard.
Well, I think this is a good time to transition into some of the really good things about Helldivers 2, and we can start with the CEO.
Game that came and ate Suicide Squad's lunch and Skull and Bones' lunch, and
I forgot about Skull and Bones.
There was another game too that also of live service that it came and ate its lunch. What was the other one? I don't remember.
Did you see the tweet going around of like Skull and Bones? Phil has 2 minutes played of it.
Nice.
Like someone's just like, even Phil knows it's bad.
Wait, Phil Spencer?
Yeah, Phil Spencer has 2 minutes of playtime on it on his
Steam. Man, he booted it, it crashed. He said, well, I'm done.
Yeah. He continues to have his finger on the pulse. No, but like one thing, and I don't even know the CEO of Helldivers' name.
From Arrowhead is the name of the developer.
Yeah, but every time he makes a statement, he keeps like winning over hearts and minds because he says the most like normal person shit,
right? Because he's actually a developer,
right? And it's like, well, because he's not like a CEO that came from business school. He's a CEO that came from like building his own development studio from the ground up,
right?
And that comes with some benefits. I hate to like do this for everything, but there are downsides to that, right? Like if he has exploding success, he might not necessarily be the best guy for running a booming company. He might not know what to do with extreme success, and so he would hire some other CEO that does.
No, but you know what the best part was? He even had a statement on that.
Yeah, he was like, we got to go slow, basically. He's like, low and slow.
Because someone was saying like, are you going to staff up now that this is so successful? He's like, no.
Because then I'll lay him off later.
Yeah. He's like, no, because he said it was a stupid idea to take your initial success and then just go on a hiring spree, because the minute your game eventually, because he knows eventually your game starts losing steam and popularity, that just means you have a bunch of people you have to lay off, and I'm not doing that.
The last 4 years, that's what we're...
I mean, this guy, I don't know if he learned the lesson from COVID or just saw everyone else like, like walking head first off the cliff and was like, no.
Hey, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's been a lot of articles saying this exact thing for the last 4 years. Like the whole, when I talked about
Foam Stars, that was the other one.
Foam Stars, that's right. I didn't even realize that came out. Jesus.
I don't know if anyone realized it came out.
Ouch. Yeah, somebody did say that it was actually fun. Like it's a fun game, which I'm sure. Splatoon is also.
I played 4 matches of that game, and I'm.
You're good. You're done.
Oh, I'm good. I'm good
now,
forever.
I don't know what kind of longevity Helldivers 2 has, because part of its strength is also maybe a little bit of a weakness long term if they don't really start adding content.
Right.
It is super easy access. The game's not easy, but you get the game. If it takes you a full round to understand the gist of the game, that's pretty slow on the curve. Like most everyone that I have run into, like you get it from the tutorial, even the humor and like the idea like you're going to get ground to like absolute shit. This is a meat grinder. Like even that is in the little 2-minute boot camp that they give you, which is hilarious. Now I had a different experience than other people. I was playing with a buddy who was level 50, and we 2-manned nothing but level 9 missions. And it was a real like trial by fire. It really, wow. But in 3 hours, I was level 20, and I would say that I'm pretty decent at I got the game. I'm like, I get it.
Oh yeah.
You don't have to worry about me figuring shit out. Like I got it.
Well, I don't know. Like, okay. So here's the crazy thing about Helldivers. It's not free to play.
No.
But here's lesson number 1. Priced appropriately. That's lesson number 1.
Mm-hmm.
It is a polished game. It's polished. It doesn't come off like, someone's first attempt at something. It's using a completely dead engine that they've just been tweaking and optimizing since the engine went offline from support 7 years ago or more. Or 6 years, like 20. Sorry, 5.
Enough, it looks pretty.
Yeah, it looks really good because they just kept tinkering with an engine that lost support 5 years ago and is not used by anyone. But that's a whole other thing. But it's priced appropriately, so it's a polished experience, and it costs $40. So you're not trying like now. You could say, well, it could have gone free to play, but you know what it does do by not going free to play? They guarantee themselves funding for their studio, but they also are not charging you $60 or $70 for it.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying like, hey, this is a fun social experience kind of game. I don't really want to charge you a bunch of money for things in the game. I kind of just want you to play the game and have fun. Because number 1, priced appropriately leads into part 2, which goes back to the Arrowhead statement, which is microtransactions have to be earned.
Mm-hmm.
He says, like, if you're going to charge people extra for content, that shit better be earned. And he's talking about themselves. Like, we have to earn the player's trust. And here's the crazy thing about Helldivers, or like the actual really crazy thing, is like everything, there's multiple currencies in the game. Common samples, rare samples, ultra rare samples, war bonds, or medals. There's medals, and then there's super credits. Super credits is there's the monetary one. There's the thing you can spend real world money on. Here's the thing about super credits. You can exchange free shit you get at the end of every mission, the medals, for super credits, a limited number of times.
Yeah.
You could turn that, you can convert that into super credits. What's more important, you can find super credits on a map. Mm-hmm. You can literally find the thing that you have to spend real world money on just in the game lying around if you're a little bit more, exploration heavy on it. Insane, because I don't remember the last time a live service game had a currency that you could buy with real world money that you could just find lying around in the game.
It's also the credits, like the things you can buy with those credits are also appropriately priced.
And here's
a couple bucks for a skin,
right?
It's not $20.
You could earn enough money for a new skin and new helmet in about a few hours of play, 2 to 3 hours of play. You could probably earn enough to get that just from playing the game, not from doing anything else, not from like grinding anything, just playing the game. Here's the other thing with those super credits. It is a small rotating daily shop where you get 2 skins and 2 helmets, 2 body armors, 2 helmets. That's what you buy with super credits.
Right. Is the cape included in the body armor? I thought it was. But
no, that's stuff capes are stuff you buy in game with in-game money, not with super credits.
Cool. Yeah.
So the crazy thing about that is, so all these things I'm saying here is that like it takes you about a couple hours, and you can earn the only thing you can buy with super credits, which is the real world money. Real money can be found, it can be earned, it can just be picked up off the ground. You get enough in a couple hours to buy a whole new suit, and you only have 4 things per day, and there's not a huge variety either. So the game isn't selling off of its skins at all, actually. It's selling just off the strength of its social aspect alone.
it also nailed like when it came out, there was literally currently a Starship Troopers fascism debate all over the internet, not just Twitter, but like everywhere. There was a Starship Troopers zeitgeist going on, and it leaned in heavily because the game is very much that like authoritarian, you know, we don't know enough about it to say it's fascist, but it is like it's
But someone will
authoritarian.
argue it's not, and I'm just gonna say, like, when you go onto the store to buy, the helmets and armor, they have fake reviews, fake 5-star reviews. They're all 5-star. Every so often you'll see a 1-star review, and it'll said message redacted due to treason.
Yeah. No, it's definitely authoritarian. It really is just like it hit at the right time, I think.
It's so team. It's so Team America.
Even then, there's people that don't understand it's satire. Like, there's people being like, "Yeah, all the best governments in video games are right wing. They're right wing authoritarians," and you're all like, "You're getting the wrong message. Authoritarianism's bad. That's the message of all these games
in all forms." and like you've said, like every type of system of government eventually devolves into that, left alone long enough.
That is the only direction it can go, other than complete collapse. But yeah, every single one of these games, their whole shtick is that authoritarian government is bad, and like some games like this take the piss out of that and just do the funny stuff, like a boot camp that totally, my God, you're amazing, because you dove under a embankment of machine gun, shit like that. Like they lean into that heavy. Other games, try to address it very seriously. Like,
but also knows what it is. It's a squad-based shooter.
Yeah, that you're constantly going into a meat grinder.
Yeah, and we're gonna have fun with it. Like people say, well, it's not political. Absolutely, it's political, but it's having fun with it.
Yeah. I would say that it's not
satire.
When they say it's not political, what those people are saying really is like it's not telling you that any current political party is bad. Like saying authoritarianism is bad, yes, it's technically political because authoritarianism is a political stance, but it shouldn't be politically applied to today. Like you can't sit there and go like, oh, these devs, they're very clearly anti this political party.
No, they're just having fun.
Yeah, right. Like they're just taking the piss out of it. So anybody that like tries to apply modern politics or daily politics to a video game is exhausting. But unless the devs flat out have said that it is a commentary on that, then I mean
we know it's it's just Starship Troopers. Like it's like they couldn't get the game is just we couldn't get Starship Troopers, so fine.
We couldn't get the license, so yeah. This is the Starship Troopers we have at home.
Yeah. Fine, I'll do it myself, and then I'll throw Terminators in there because I can.
Oh, because it's hard. Because it's good.
But yeah, so lesson number 1, price it appropriately. Lesson number 2, do not like indaunt your shop with items, because I think there is a danger to FOMO getting so prevalent that like eventually you just get exhausted. You're like,
you get burnout. Yeah,
you get burnout, and then you just walk away because you know what? I don't even want to know what's in the game anymore.
Right.
Because now it's like, oh, I gotta get this, and I'm like, eventually you just feel like you're just constantly being nagged to just buy this, get this, do it now, no doubt. You're running out of time. Buy.
Yeah, and I hate
you know what? Forget it. And the thing is like it's not entirely cosmetic only, because everyone's like cosmetics only. Cosmetics only doesn't really change the fact that like FOMO is a predatory practice, by nature, by design, by intent.
The number one way to spot a scam or a con, and this is taught to like fucking spies. Like this is like taught to you when you get out of boot camp. They'll tell you like, oh, this is how you spot a scam happening. But this is like in travel books and stuff. If they're trying to force you to make the decision quickly with a lack of information and with no official like reciprocity, right? Like, so say like this happened to me today. Someone comes to my door and is like, oh, you can get this deal on internet. And I'm like, oh, give me a card, give me a flyer, something like that. And they're like, oh no, it's only on this iPad. Okay, well, I'll go into the store tomorrow. It's like, no, it's only right now. It's right now. If you sign up right now, I can give you this special deal. Oh, then go fuck yourself. That's what you should do every single time. Maybe it's real. Probably not real. The fact that we allow that in normal games, like in a game to get you to sell something, FOMO, that we know it's a con tactic. We know that it is psychological manipulation, and we allow it for kids.
Yes, for kids.
We allow kids to
right, and this is why there was.
What are we doing?
It was so weird to me that people were like fighting back or becoming like corporate defenders, because they're like, well, if it's just cosmetic, it's fine. It's not gambling if it's just cosmetic. And I'm like, the idea is not even like so much like, okay, yes, like Battlefront 2 originally was pay to boba, right, or whatever. Like, but the problem extends beyond the just like, well, they're just getting digital goods. And I'm like, yes, but they're also creating kids into becoming like basically trained to spend money quickly.
Or in worst cases, gamble.
Just straight up gamble. Like, you're still gambling. They are still trying to get something they really want. An adult, what does an adult really want? Lots of money. Who doesn't? A kid, they only want money to get the thing they want. And then like, we're just cutting out the middleman here and just like, I really want this skin. I need to get. I will pay money to roll the dice so I can maybe get the thing I really want. And that's why. I mean, we've seen gacha kind of like really pull back from like the console space. I mean, obviously it's still a big deal in mobile and in other parts of the world.
Huge in mobile.
But at the same time, it's just kind of like, well, the idea with FOMO, which is kind of like the replacing gacha, it's still it is still a predatory practice.
It is.
And Helldivers doesn't. I don't really feel like it's predatory because, like, I've logged onto the game 4 times, right? And I've seen the same costume in my shop at least 2 of those times, if not 3. Like I say, like, it kind of like changes daily, but like, I have seen the costume I bought in my shop twice. And again, there's only 4 things: 2 armors, 2 helmets. And I was like, oh, well, I already have it.
And since there's multiple ways to get other things, it feels like they don't draw your attention to the shop constantly. Like every time you get into COD, they literally throw you into the shop or try to get you to buy something. And
that's good lesson number 3. Don't constantly self-advertise.
Yeah, don't beat me over the head with it. Now, granted, we're in a world where having a shop is just the only way you're going to get things greenlit. That's the truth. I don't like it. I call it predatory because it is predatory. But I understand that is a reality for devs to get a game made. So I'm not going to poo-poo a game for having it necessarily anymore. I will voice my dislike of it all the time, but like I won't count that against like the devs because that's probably the only way they got the damn thing made.
Well, it's probably with an agreement even. But the thing is that, and I think what we're avoiding here with Helldivers 2 is the gameplay loop is fun no matter what costume you're wearing.
Yeah, and you're going to die a lot, period. There is no game breaking. Like when I got the breaker shotgun, everybody was like, oh, it's the meta. It's everyone. The guy I was playing was like, it's the meta. It's broken. It breaks the game. But because I did it in the fashion that I did it, like, nah, it don't. It's not that much better than Liberators.
It's only good in up close on robots.
Oh no, it'll absolutely murder things from like a mile away. I do it all the time, but it is not that much better than the Liberator assault rifle. Like realistically, the flamethrower or the machine gun, you're going to drop in a better support weapon than anything you're going to take in automatically with you. My point is like, even the meta guns aren't like that friggin' broken. You are going to die a lot. You are going into a meat grinder. The gameplay loop is the intense stupidity of it. It's the same reason like anybody you play with that gets mad about team kills is an asshole. Like it's chaotic. The whole game is chaotic. Like now I will say I've only gotten 1 team kill so far, so I'm a friggin' saint.
Well, I don't team kill because I have really good trigger discipline, so that never happens with me. However,
my team kill came because they blew me up and I dropped my stratagem, which
was the thing though. Yeah, friendly fire is on, but here's the crazy thing: the game is very aggressively anti-grief.
Yeah,
Apparently, there was a long period of time, way too long, and I mean when I say way too long, I mean like a week or more, which I'm still flabbergasted this happened, where there was a rampant amount of people who would play or kill people and take their samples because they wanted the other person. They said, "Oh, someone on my team got something, got a sample. I got to go kill him and take his samples." And it's like, dummy, like they're shared.
Yeah,
like,
whole team gets them. I don't.
Whole team gets them when you pick them up. Like, you kill your teammate and pick up the sample. He's got the sample still.
There's a bounty board on Reddit now. Did you know that? There's a bounty board. Yeah, for team kills. Yeah, so if you're a person who team kills a lot, like on purpose, they put your name on the bounty board in the Helldivers 2 Reddit, so that every time you hop into a game, everybody just starts slaughtering you over and over again.
Wow, it's funny because it feels like griefers are trying to find ways around the grief.
Yeah, around it. But Gant's Demon is the #1 griefer right now. So anytime he jumps into a game, you're supposed to kill him.
This is amazing. What you wanted.
And
you
like,
wanted
it's
this.
The official Helldivers Reddit, as far as I know. So it's like the devs are like, yeah, fuck this guy. That's amazing.
Well, apparently too, because someone said like, oh, we get asked about PvP. He's like, I am never putting PvP in this game.
Hell yeah, don't.
That was his stance. Like, I have a harsh stance. Like, I'm so sick of people constantly. He's like, I'm so sick of people constantly just trying to like drama and like. He's like, I hate like he just vehemently dislikes. So the people running this game are like, we do not like PvP. We do not entertain the idea of PvP. He's like, we just want this game to be fun for everyone. We want people to like have the joy of killing bugs together or killing robots together. He's like, we have no interest and we're never putting it in. And he's like, that's why we have all these anti-grief policies with the game. Like, someone picks up super credits, everyone on the team gets them like the same amount. Like,
yeah,
like I don't care about He's like, I don't care about like competing against like, and he's right. There's a billion other games to go do that in. Go play any other game. Period.
I don't know. It just seems like they've made a lot of decisions. I wonder how much of it's dumb luck and how much of it's just like they're so tired of all these other things.
Yeah, right. Here's another thing that I think is incredible, and I don't think it probably doesn't get talked about as much as it probably should. Their way of live servicing the game is incredible, and that is they have a singular person working at the studio who's the DM.
Yes. Yeah, this is fantastic.
He's literally the DM, the dungeon master, the game master, and his job is basically he decides when to like upload more missions to planets. He basically controls the flow of the game's narrative because the game has a persistent universe that like every single person playing the game is contributing towards the push of pushing democracy to the pushing
democracy.
Like you have two fronts. There's the bug front and the robot front, and everyone who goes on a planet picks a mission, and then like missions you can see getting locked out or like they're occupied by some people. Maybe you can join them, maybe you can't. And there's a guy whose job is to just go in there and constantly decide what to give the enemy, the enemy AI. His job is basically to in real time manipulate the war for other players, because apparently there was a push with like 180,000 people to take back a planet from the robots, and then like PC Gamer tweeted about it, and then they're like, because they're I think where are they located? Somewhere in Europe, and they're like, okay, like we got to push this planet. He's probably asleep, and then he woke up and was like, what? No. And there was an update on the article where it's like he woke up. He sent a bunch of supply. He put a bunch of missions added to the planet for the robots. Where he's like he helped turn the tide back in the robots' favor. He's like, oh god, they're going to take over this way too quick. No, like robots found this secret tech. Here you go.
So. Yeah, no, I sort of love that. Like he sets a timer for middle of the night, so he wakes up once in the middle of the night or something like that, and make sure that everything's going to plan. Like that's dedication.
But it's just fun kind of in a way, because it feels like the persistent online universe is actually this amazing thing that I'm like, this is why this game works, because it feels like you're all pushing towards something, and to know that there is an actual ongoing campaign that you players are actually affecting it in real time. Like it is actually having effect where it's like you're playing like a big nerdy D&D game, in a sense of a big shooty game, and there is a DM who is a human who's like you're basically like throwing stuff at him and seeing how he's going to combat it.
Well, I've seen really cool ideas come out of this where like I don't know if they're taking suggestions this way, but it seems like they are, where like I see on Twitter like interactions with the actual Helldivers account where like people are like, oh, since we know that like Malevelon Creek was this insane battle, like they should release battle ribbons. Like if you did missions that saved this planet or whatever, and so like your little service record is just like all those battle ribbons, and it just gets more and more ridiculously long that like you can wear it on your cape or whatever, would be a really cool way to like show how long you've been playing, especially once you max out level. There's a lot of ways for them to, even if they were like, oh, it's $1 to get this your battle ribbon cape, like, okay, that's actually not a bad way to raise a new round of fresh money.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see what happens because they're adding mechs to the game. Like the whole game, there's no vehicles right now in the game, but they're adding mechs, like Metal Gear Rexes that you can call down and ride in. I don't know if that's going to cost money or not. Maybe it won't. But even if it did, where it's like, okay, if you want to unlock the ability to summon a mech, you're going to have to use super credits, which if you're like me, you've probably just accrued a whole bunch while playing the game normally. So I wouldn't even have to spend money. Or if you're like jumping in, it's like, oh, it's like $1. Okay. Or $2. Okay. There's one way to kind of make money. The game is fully playable and is blown up without mechs, but like, okay, adding mechs in, it almost feels better if it's like, okay, if you want to add a gameplay feature to the game that you don't need, but you could pay money for it to give yourself to add a gameplay feature that you don't otherwise need.
Yeah,
that's a better way to me of monetizing a game. In a sense like this, it's very simple. Like it's a third-person shooter. It's a persistent online, war going on. You don't need mechs, but hey, it's be kind of fun. And you can either play a couple hours, get the money you need for it, or you could give us $2 extra, and we'll add this gameplay feature, an unnecessary feature to it that just, cool. It's more than just a hat,
Especially if you're talking about, it's not something that like, again, to shit on God, a season where it's like you'll never be able to get this content again. If you didn't play this from the beginning, you won't have this costume or this.
And Fortnite does that too, and I
right.
find it insanely stupid. I'm like,
it's like if you play in a year, if in a year you decide to play this game, you will still be able to buy that mech. Like you can hop in and grab that mech if you want it. Like cool. Or like you can buy a super edition if the Super Citizen edition includes the stuff up until now type crap, like that kind of thing. Because I think the Super Citizen edition is just like it's $60 instead of 40.
Yeah, it gives you a bunch of bonus tchotchke stuff. The funny thing is you can go into the Super Citizen edition of the game, and you can earn your way into it. Like you don't have to spend the extra $20. You could just buy the regular edition of the game, play the game a decent amount, not a lot, but like, you just play it for a few hours and start buying the stuff in the Super Citizen edition from in-game currency or just doing stuff in-game. Like these are all the lessons you need to take away from it, because here's the other thing too. It's like, here's a lesson that you think everyone's on board with or think everyone knows, but they kind of don't. And that is aesthetics. And this is where I poop on Suicide Squad harder, because what DC doesn't get, nobody cares about Suicide Squad. Nobody wants to pay $70 to play as Captain Boomerang or King Shark. And people like these characters, even Deadshot. The only character people care about in Suicide Squad is Harley, because people are horny, dirtbags. That's what they care about. They would have spent $70. Like, ask yourself this: do you think they would have sold a lot more copies of a game if it was Harley Quinn, the game, and it played like an Arkham game?
Well, how much did Lollipop Chainsaw sell?
Well, Lollipop Chainsaw is not an established character.
I know. But it's basically
it is. No, I get what you're going with there. And hell, they Harley Quinn homages Lollipop Chainsaw in the Suicide Squad by James Gunn, because James Gunn wrote Lollipop Chainsaw.
Yeah.
People don't know, but my point is that people care about Harley. Maybe a couple like uber dorks like Deadshot. But nobody's sitting there and is going to spend. I want to spend $70 so I can play as King Shark shooting a gun for 100 hours.
They had an opportunity to do something really good that they could have done the Suicide Squad like the Helldivers did, where it's like it's actual basic suicide missions and you can choose whichever character. Like they could have had a whole roster of characters of those villains that were ever in the Suicide Squad, because there's like 100 friggin' villains that were in the Suicide Squad at some point.
Yeah.
And then you can go on suicide missions and play as whatever character you want, and you die zillions of times, and there's gore, and there's that would have sold. I genuinely think that would have sold. Locking it down into an Arkham style gameplay with 4 specific characters, I don't know. I just didn't see the gameplay.
Well, not even of a 4-player Arkham, just Arkham, but you play as Harley instead of Batman.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I mean
that's
I
it.
agree.
Like, if it was just a one and doneer, as they say, it probably I guarantee you it probably would have done better, because here's the thing: is like people don't care about Suicide Squad as a concept. The first movie didn't do great numbers. The second movie did far worse, even though it was far better. Again, people like Harley. They're not that in love with the rest of the Suicide Squad. They're really not. And here's the other thing: it's an ugly game too. So going back to the other one, like Skull and Bones, it graphically looks very good, but what is the art style of Skull and Bones?
Bleh.
Realistic, I guess.
You know why Suicide Squad doesn't do well? It's easy to sum up, because they had to go to a game that took forever to come out before they killed the Justice League. If the very first Suicide Squad movie was Suicide Squad kills Superman, everybody'd be lining up to see Henry Cavill take down the Suicide Squad and root for the bad guy in that movie. But they're cowards and they don't want to do that. They don't want to lessen the brand of Batman or of Superman.
In that game, you do kill all the superheroes.
Yeah, but I'm saying they waited. The reason nobody gives a shit about Suicide Squad is they should have done that in the first movie.
Like to set up like a precedent?
Yeah, the first movie should have been about killing one of the big superheroes. For whatever reason. Amanda Waller's not a good character. She's a bad lady. She doesn't like Superman because she thinks that ultimate power should rest with an authoritarian government. See, the message of this is that authoritarian governments are bad. But the message. But my point is like, if the first movie was like Amanda Waller deciding that Superman is bad for the U.S. government, and so here's these guys, in the second movie, they're all like, oh, Idris Elba's character, which is just Deadshot Part 2. I don't remember what his name is, but point is like, oh, he hit Superman with a kryptonite bullet. What's that story? That would have been cool. Let's see that shit. Like, what are you talking about? Like, and I liked the second Suicide. I liked the first one fine enough. It wasn't amazing, but it was like, David Ayer movie. But the second one is like, it's a starfish.
It's Starro.
It's fun. Yeah, it's fun.
Which makes sense for comic dorks, but again, it's kind of like
right. But I don't care. Like I
say this. I'm surprised I haven't got more black. I'm like, the main villain in Suicide Squad kills Justice League, the game. It's Brainiac. It's freaking Brainiac. I'm sorry, Brainiac's lame. Brainiac is what I call a writer's get out of jail free card character. Where I'm like, because Brainiac is a self-replicating robot who uses nanomachines to, like, he can store his entire memory of everything up to a certain point on a nanomachine, and he can make 1 billion of them at any time. So no matter what you do, it's just kind of like, well, we got to stop Brainiac. Like, Brainiac is just kind of like, well, I need a villain to come back, throw him in, and I need a villain like he is literally just like baked into the brownie Deus Ex Machina for a villain. I need a villain to have this much power or this much control or get away with this much stuff. How do I do it? Brainiac. I don't know. He doesn't have to earn it. He's a robot. He's a self-replicating robot that can make, nano level, small robots that nobody saw, and then that they carried on his will, and they swarmed it or they rebuilt something somewhere. I don't nanomachines, son. He's literally nanomachines. Brainiac survived, and he did this because nanomachines. And he could do all this stuff. I don't need to think much beyond it other than nanomachines. I don't like
barometric pressures, wind patterns. Oh fuck, I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. It's like if it was Darkseid, there would have been, I think, way more interest in the game. It should have been Suicide Squad, versus Darkseid or versus Apocalypse or something. Because the nice thing about Darkseid is that Darkseid is a leader of a whole planet in a highly authoritarian government who basically is out to prove why Superman, is a fallacy and is like, the whole Superman brings false hope and whatever.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we have a running theme here. Okay,
seems like a lot of them.
Like Darkseid would have been great because you can put like an idealistic villain who's really powerful and is really he can do other cunning things, and you can have something more going than he's a robot and the robot wants to digitize everyone and just erase everyone and collect the data. I'm like, great.
But also the Suicide Squad, they're bad guys. Let them do bad guy shit. Don't give me Suicide Squad kills the Justice League. Don't make it a Brainiac. Don't make it they're not the real Justice League. They're not actual heroes. They're doing evil stuff and they're under bad. No, you're bad guys. They kill the Justice League because the Justice League crosses Amanda Waller, crosses some government entity that controls Amanda Waller. And so you're going to go kill the Justice League. Not Brainiac's version, you're going to kill Superman, the good guy Superman, the morally superior, the perfect, good Boy Scout Superman. You're going to kill Batman.
Yeah, and maybe we're getting a little too far from the real core here, which is just that, the gameplay, the gameplay loop of Suicide Squad did not look interesting.
Well, that and it didn't have it didn't have an infinite loop. Any live service game that ends, if you have an end point,
the game was okay, you play as Harley Quinn. What does she do? She swings around on zip lines and shoots guns. What does Deadshot do? He swings around on zip lines or jetpacks and shoots. What does King Shark do? He swings around on a jetpack and he shoots guns. What does Captain Boomerang do? He swings around on a jetpack and he shoots guns.
Yeah, and what's the replay value?
You're just that and people will say it's different. It's not this, blah blah blah. But that state of play a year ago, when it was supposed to come out last May, they had that long thing, where it's just like, hey, what do? You shoot purple zits. Yeah. Until they pop.
And this is actually we'll end on a good question here for Helldivers, because Helldivers is doing a lot right. It's literally selling more week to week. This is unheard of.
I honestly think that the big part of Helldivers' success is aesthetics, because I haven't really got to the whole why does Helldivers work? Because it's fun, it looks cool. You just want to look cool, right? Like you can't make Captain Boomerang look cool. But not just that it looks cool. Helldivers has fun with itself, and I think people are starting to appreciate.
Starved for.
I think people are appreciating games that are fun and funny and have fun with themselves and are having a good time. And I think this is why Rebirth is at least perceptually doing so much better than 16, because the characters are goofy and they have weird things happen and they have fun with themselves and the characters are lively. People, it's people just like, well, you need a character people can relate to, and I'm like, or you can just have interesting characters that are fun, like that like you even if you don't have to relate to someone to enjoy watching them interact with each other,
right?
Like do I relate to Cloud or to Vincent or any or Tifa? No. Do I love watching these characters interact? Yes. I don't need to relate to them. Everyone
knows the most relatable character is Barrett. Okay,
Barrett is the heart and soul of that game.
Yeah, he's confused by all this wacky bullshit that he has to deal with, and yet he's still there. He's still ready to fight. He's still rolling. Sephiroth's half a god. He's got one wing. How does he fly? Oh, fuck this. Yeah, Barrett's the most relatable dude.
Yeah, but it's like that's the thing. Is like the game has
like
fun with its characters. Like it embraces the video gameness and the absurdity and all that jazz. And I think Helldivers does that. And I think to an extent that's kind of what Fortnite did. Why did it, early on? We're talking like 7-8 years ago in Fortnite, and when it blew up, when it basically stole PUBG's thunder. Why did it steal PUBG's thunder? Because it was having fun with itself.
Yeah.
It was having fun with itself. It felt like, like what you just said, like, this is a game that's just more entertaining, more fun. Like PUBG was a butt ugly game. It's still a butt ugly game, but it doesn't have personality. And Fortnite has a personality and had fun with itself. And those dances really took off. And that's and people gravitated towards that. Ultimately, sum it all up. People just want to have a good time. And Helldivers knows that. And Helldivers cuts a lot of the bullshit out of the way. And it's like, you just want to have a good time. You don't want to pay a ton of money. You don't want to be FOMO'd to death. You don't want to be like sitting there working on a battle pass. You just want to play a game, shoot bugs with friends. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's make a game that that's just that and has fun with itself and is makes you laugh, makes you grin, makes you smile.
Your level barely matters. Your costume almost doesn't matter. It literally is just hop on and play. It's why I'm wondering what kind of longevity it's going to have.
Right, yeah. And Mechs is a
6 months, are we still going to be playing it?
I don't know, but the thing is, here's the one thing about Helldivers. It's a game I don't mind jumping back into if I take a long break from it. Where it's like, oh, hey, they've introduced mechs. That sounds pretty cool. I think I'll try that.
Yeah, right.
And even if I play it for one night, 2 nights, a few times, and then I just leave it again, and then like we added jets to the game. Oh, that sounds cool. I'll try that.
And again, even if you do that and you hop back on, and all your friends got jets, you'll pay $1 to get a jet.
And the big thing, I don't have to worry about. I can't jump back into this game. These people are going to be killers. I'm not going to be able to do anything. Like in Fortnite or Call of Duty or fighting games, I don't have to worry about. Oh, well, everyone's really good at the game now, and I don't. I have to relearn the control. Don't matter. You're killing bugs.
It's not even that everybody's really good in those games. The meta matters so much that if you've been out of the loop for a couple of months, hell, if you've been out of the loop for a couple of weeks, you're gonna have a rough time getting the edge again.
Oh,
because
for sure.
You don't know all the little hiding spots and the stupid metas and those.
And you don't need to worry about that in Helldivers.
I dig
There's no weird worrying about the meta. It's like go find bugs, kill bugs, throw grenades.
What I loved about Left 4 Dead when Left 4 Dead first came out.
That's true.
Back 4 Blood had a burnout, but it did have sort of what I wanted, but it tried to get more of the buy all this bullshit.
So I mean, these are the lessons. These are the lessons you need to learn from Helldivers. I know Sony has 6. I think they had 12 and they canceled a bunch. I think Helldivers might have been one of them. Sony, if you want to for your upcoming marathon and all this other crap, whatever they have, here's a couple lessons learned. Oh, the other lesson we didn't talk about: release it day one on PC with crossplay and cross save. Just quit lying to yourself about inherent value or perceived value, or shut up. Just put it on PC.
I think they're learning that lesson right now.
Maybe.
All right.
With that state of WB, who knows?
If you're on Helldivers, hit us up on Twitter or in the comments on YouTube. Favorite moments, favorite things about it, or maybe you've spotted something and you're all like, "Hey, this is really crap," and you want to hit us with some cynicism. Go ahead, we're down for that too. We are. But as always, we've got patrons to thank. If you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideogames podcast. Dude of the week was Andrew G. Thank you, Andrew. You're awesome, like all Andrews. Every Andrew I know. We're all great. And our producers for this episode.
I'm glad you said every Andrew because I could definitely think of, I'm not going to go there.
No, I know some shit-ass Andrews. I'm gassing myself up a little bit, all right? We all need it. But I got producers to thank. Our producers for this episode are Austinite, Zybernite, Mutton Chops Johnson, The Pink Hammer, Screwnami, Croy35, Hyper Viper 89, Hockey Kong 64, LCL Mayhem, and Ziggy Z. Thank you, dudes, and we will catch you next time.
Later, dudes.